from where we began. No, we started. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
It's The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, and a good afternoon to all of you.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong, and what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through.
I'm Paul Van Wagner. KG's in the other studio taking your calls at 961-1430, 961-1430. Love to hear from you today. What's on your mind? Jason Stamm joining us here this afternoon. A little early from Scouts.com, but that's okay because, man, you got something going on. Now, what is the NBA PA Top 100 camp, and where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm at UVA, actually, at John Paul Jones Arena, the NBA Players Association Top 100 camp. They do it annually. It's about this time every year. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's a little over 100 of the top players in the country. And this one's pretty significant because it's one of the only, or maybe the only, really, major recruiting camp that has no affiliation with one of the sneaker companies, because they pretty much, and that's pretty much how dictates, who competes where.
Right.
So the Nike guys, you'll only see them competing against Nike guys. Under Armour only gets Under Armour, and so forth. And this one, it's across across the board. The top guys in the country, they're all invited. Some of them obviously can't attend, but the lion's share will be here at this camp.
Now, when they come to, I know when they go to a football camp, it's a lot of times, just running some drills and stuff like that. In a basketball camp setting, do they get to play some games, or is it still just a lot of drills that they're running?
No, it's mostly games. During the day, I think they have, there's there's 4 sessions of games, and then they have, shoot-around time in the morning, and this one's kind of cool because it involves a lot of, either former players, current players from the NBA that either are coaching or are pitching in some way. So they get a lot of, really guidance and interaction with a lot of these guys. Even just, example for today, like, Finn Baker, Antonio Davis are both here coaching.
Oh, wow.
Rafer Alston, if anybody ever watched all the And One mixtape stuff, Skip to My Lou. He's here. Sam Perkins is here. Some guys like that. And there'll be some other kind of random guys that really just kind of show up. I mean, Amari Stoudemire was here last year to help out some of these guys. So it's a pretty good experience for all of them. And they're here. Today is the first day. I think they all got here yesterday. They were
right.
So it goes through Saturday night when the championship game is.
Very cool. Now, are coaches allowed at these, or is this just strictly for you guys?
Yeah, no, they're not allowed to view. Of course, the actual contact period began today, so a lot of them were reaching out and contacting these guys, but they can't actually be physically here to watch.
Okay. The 2017 recruiting class, the top 10 is out for right now. Auburn sits at the top of that, followed by UCLA, but interestingly enough, if you scroll down to number 10, I see the Virginia Tech Hokies. Is the recruiting class for 2017 that good for the Hokies right now?
Well, when you say recruiting class, they only have one right now,
right.
Nick Alexander Walker. So he's a pretty darn good one. We actually bumped him up to number 68 in the country for 2017, and the rankings just came out last week. He's a very good get. They've got a few more spots. They're going to be taking at least 2 more, if not probably 3.
Right.
You never know how with transfers and anything else, but it's definitely going to be 2 more guys. So they've got some room to add on to that. So to already be off to a really good start like that already, it's pretty big.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Some more interesting things out there right now. I want to talk a little bit, if we could, about defensive tackle Brian Gaddy. This is a kid, I think we've talked about him a couple of times. Virginia Tech has him, I guess Virginia Tech has him on their list. He also has Virginia Tech on his list. What are the chances of him being a guy that can show up and play for the Hokies?
Honestly, I don't think very good right now. He and his brother Brandon are both. They're a package deal. They're basically been very insistent they're gonna play together at the next level. Tennessee, I think, is the clear leader there.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing with them, they both of them have to work a lot more on their academics. I don't think either one of them are 100% set right now as far as that goes. They've got some work to do off the field. But on the field, yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech's sitting in the back of the pack right now. They're in that top 7
right.
For both those guys. Again, the top 7 is identical for both. So
okay.
They're in it, but they've got a lot of work to do to have any kind of make any kind of room within that group. You
had a chance to sit down and talk with Coach Justin Fuente, posted a 2-part interview segment on the VT Zone, and people, if they want to subscribe, can check that out. But kind of just cliff notes, what were your takeaways from your conversation with Coach Fuente? Yeah,
I really, I just kind of want to get a little bit of an update. I mean, it's been 6 months into it now. Recruiting-wise, their philosophy hasn't changed. And I think, and honestly, he may have some different answers for some questions. Even the end of this week after the satellite camps, they had one, yesterday in the Tidewater area in Virginia Beach. They had one today in Northern Virginia. So may have a little different take after all these are done. They got some more on campus. But, I think he's he hasn't differed or really gotten away from what he's set out to do from the beginning. So he's got a full staff together now. I really had to sit down with him last time. That was back in January. Hadn't gotten the full staff together. Brian Mitchell wasn't hired yet. Of course, Torian Gray was still on staff at that point. So,
right.
I think he's got a little more, continuity with those guys now. And they seem to be getting along really well. And interesting enough, I think it was kind of a bonding experience this week with these camps. They took a bus actually and bus down there as a staff.
Oh wow!
Took some support staff, some trainers. So from what I've been told, it's been kind of a bonding experience for those guys. Being able to be on a bus and busting around everywhere together, because that's a long way over there to the Tidewater area, as anybody knows. But going over there in Northern Virginia today, I think they're heading back probably in the morning or something. So I think that also will help kind of the staff as a whole.
Now, let me ask you this, and I guess we can speak specifically to Virginia Tech, or we can talk in generalities. I'll let you kind of take the lead once I ask the question. But when you talk to Justin Fuente about the offense, he has a clear, concise idea of what he wants to do with the offense. When you talk to him about the defense, he'll tell you flat out, that's Bud Foster's thing, man. I stay away. I learned a long time ago that I'm offense. I don't know enough about defense. I stay away from defense. I let Bud handle that. From a recruiting standpoint, how much say does a head coach like Justin Fuente have? If Bud Foster comes to him and says, look, we got to offer this kid, he fits what we need to do. Does Justin just rubber stamp something like that, or does he do his own research?
Well, they meet as a staff before they offer anybody. So it goes through full staff approval. Somebody can, everybody's going to have there's a primary recruiter for about every kid.
Right.
And so they'll gather who they like, put together on a list, and then meet together as a staff. So that's why, if you'll notice, a lot of times these offers will go out in little groups.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, if you have one or two here or there, maybe you just can't get hold of the coach, or, who knows what. But that's why they kind of go out when they do. So, yeah, they meet as a staff. They get full staff approval. So, defensively, I think a lot of times if Bud Foster likes somebody on defense, that's a pretty good stamp of approval from Justin Fuente.
Sure.
He kind of wants to be aware of everything going on.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think if Bud was really on board with somebody, I think that they would it'd be hard for Justin Fuente, I'm sure, to say no.
Now, is that common throughout college football? Do most programs run that way, or is it kind of does it depend on each individual program and the head coach and the staff?
I think it's going to depend on each staff. I think most staffs do meet before they make an offer. But, there's not too many staffs that have a Bud Foster that knows, he's done this a few times, knows what he's looking for, knows exactly what's going to fit his defense. He's got, some nuances, obviously, that are different from other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many schools use a whip linebacker. So, there's a certain kind of linebacker, from an athletic build or athletic ability to physical build, that they look for as far as filling that position. So, when it comes to even you look at like a whip linebacker specifically, I think Bud Foster, when he finds somebody, I think Justin Fuente it's going to be hard for him to say no.
You mentioned the camps. They had one at the 757 yesterday. Any takeaway from that camp, or is it too early at this point to really know kind of who was there and what they saw?
Yeah, the guy that I really thought was going to get an offer yesterday was Daz Newsome.
Yeah,
that name should sound pretty familiar because that's Deion Newsome's little brother.
Okay,
who plays over at Hampton. So, got a little bit of a individual workout. Really thought they may be close to offering him, and he ended up not getting an offer there. But I think that's definitely a name you're going to hear plenty of because of who he is, and also he's really good. So I think he had a pretty impressive camp yesterday, and that's one, again, I'd expect to be in consideration for an offer for, and probably right up to signing day.
Another kid that's on the radar of Virginia Tech and vice versa is Mondo Walker. What can you tell me about this young man?
Yeah, Mondo, it's another brother connection. I mean, it's Ricky Walker's younger brother. So Mondo is, I think he's not quite the biggest kid. He's not the fastest kid, but he plays incredibly hard on every play. Even went out, he did a few reps on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's probably, I don't see him playing offense at all, but he wanted to at least, take some reps. So they let him take some reps, and, I think he looks pretty good. I don't know if he's Virginia Tech level yet, but he's definitely good enough to play somewhere. So, there was Norfolk State coaches there also watching. I think they took a lot of interest in him. It's still kind of early with him as far as any offers. He hasn't gotten a lot. I think he's going to be one of those guys that really how he plays this season is going to really dictate how he gets some, because there's a lot of schools, because he's not an obvious, we got to have this kid for really just about everybody. Right. Everybody wants to see how he does when he gets on the field.
And it's one of those things. You mentioned that he plays hard every play. You sometimes you can't teach heart. So, and I know a lot of coaches, Bud Foster's probably one of them, looks at that and says, we can make that work with a kid like this, don't they?
Yeah, they've done that before. I think Mondo is good enough to draw a scholarship offer from somewhere. So, it just depends on what he's – and there's so much that can happen. He can have some, spectacular year and get, multiple D1 offers, or, he could end up getting just some smaller offers and maybe a good candidate for a walk-on. So, a lot of people want to know about walk-ons, especially at a place like Virginia Tech that's had such a good history with walk-ons. But it's really early to tell right now because we've got a whole season of football left to play. So, he's definitely a kid, though, that I think would be worth keeping an eye on, because if he does have a good season, he could be, again, a very good candidate to get an offer from a place like Virginia Tech, especially with the family connection already.
Now, how long are you going to be in Charlottesville, and will you go home and delouse afterwards?
Yeah, I'll be here for the next couple of days. The camp goes through Saturday. I usually don't stay that long,
right?
But, I usually collect all the information I need over a couple of days. And, once you've seen a few games, you've kind of seen them all.
Right, yeah.
So, I'll be here for a few days. There's about 20 guys that either maybe not have Virginia Tech offers, but are guys that they're interested in.
Sure.
So quite a few names to keep an eye on, and we'll be covering all of those, have video interviews with a lot of those guys. So lots of information coming over the next few days.
Well, make sure you don't bring any of that UVA funk with you when you come back, all right?
I'll try not to.
Jason Stamm, the VTZoneScout.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots of great information. Look forward to chatting with you again next week, all right?
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul.
Thanks, Jason. Talk to you soon. There you go, Jason Stamm. We'll be right back. It's The Drive.
ESPN Blacksburg, AM 1430, 810 FM.